This is a fantastic gift that has just arrived. It's the sitar of the great Indian maestro, Ravi Shankar. What you're listening to here is Anoushka Shankar playing her father's own sitar, and this will be the last time that it's played before it enters into the collections of the British Museum.
The part of me that sees it as an instrument thinks it should be played, and therefore it shouldn't go in a glass box. But at the same time, I think these things are symbols as well, and they kind of have meaning that are bigger than each individual item. And so as a symbol, it's the instrument that my father played for so many years, and therefore it was part of a story that was bigger than itself.
Ravi Shankar's name is certainly the most well-known of all Indian musicians of the 20th century, I would say. He was completely international. He worked all over the world. He was honoured wherever he went. And because he remained absolutely rooted in his own tradition, it allowed him to be engaged with ever so many different audiences. Western musicians, both classical and in the jazz sphere, and of course famously with the Beatles.
It is strange to see pop musicians with sitars. When George Harrison came to me, I didn't know what to think. I never thought our meeting would cause such an explosion, that Indian music could suddenly appear on the pop scene.
Ravi Shankar actually started out life as a dancer when he was a young boy in his brother's dancing troupe in Europe, and he toured with them. And it was only when he was a little older that he returned to India and studied the sitar more intensively, and it was after that that he began to tour the world and share this incredible Indian music.
I was a dancer in Paris in my brother Uday's troupe. I was young in those days and very spoiled. I dressed like a dandy and chased girls all the time. Then finally, I left Paris. Taking a guru was the biggest decision of my life. It demanded absolute surrender, years of fanatic dedication and discipline. There's so much in our music that goes back thousands of years. The prayers in our temples, the pain and struggle of life, the sound of the rivers, the timeless chants. So many things that are within me.
The office.
Lovely.
Oh, welcome to the most important department in the museum, or we think so anyway. So Sukanya Shankar and Anoushka Shankar came here to the museum with the musical instrument, with the sitar, in which it was formally accessioned into the museum collection. Now, I want to ask you a little bit about the history of the instrument. Do we know?
He had this special person.
Yes.
Nodu Malik.
So Nodu Malik was an instrument maker who made sitars exclusively for my father, and they are unparalleled. They're incredible instruments that are made at the level of a Stradivarius, for example, and they're just small little differences.
Nodu only made 6 sitars total in his lifetime.
Wow. And it's made of several different woods, isn't it?
It is. The whole top neck
Yes, it's teak.
is teak.
But the actual belly is...
That's a gourd.
That's the gourd.
That's the gourd, yeah, which is part of the body of the instrument.
Resonate, that's the resonator.
It's like a resonator, yeah. And then there's a second detachable gourd, just for ease of moving it around. And then there's a lot of ornamental variations where people do carvings onto the tumba, and those will be wood put
Right.
onto the tumba. So it kind of does combine.
Anoushka Shankar spent some 20 years playing with her father. He was, her father as well as her teacher, which is a really important bond. I think it's quite interesting now to see her now trailblazing a path of her own. She is composing film scores, she's performing at many different concerts with many different musicians of different traditions as well. So she's not only inheriting her father's incredible legacy, but she's creating her own.
I'd learnt with him from when I was 7, but I'd performed with him on stage for 20 years. So we had this incredibly symbiotic, telepathic almost relationship through playing music together. But in order to find my own way with the instrument, I had to do my best to ignore its legacy and history in context of my own life. So whereas I loved to play and I wanted to learn from my father, I always had to kind of minimize the noise of, and that means you're carrying on this legacy, and that means that you have to follow in his footsteps, and all that stuff that made it feel fearful and like a pressure. So my way of finding my way with the instrument was to kind of just put all of that to the side, and of course, yet it's still present. So as I play and as I travel the world playing the way he did, there is a continuation that's happening in and of itself, where I'm continuing to share our art and culture with the world through playing the music. So it's very much there, but I had to kind of not think of it that way in order to do it.
I want to work with students who are serious. Create an atmosphere where they can receive the best out of our culture. I want to give them a classical base for understanding. For without it, they will never realize the magic and beauty of the music.
She was 7 when I asked him, will you teach her? First his reaction was, what? I've never taught any young people. I can't do it. So I said, can you not try? And he says, no. That was it. I think he felt bad that he said that to me. The next thing I see is her in the puja room, and he tries to teach her. I was expecting maybe 10 minutes or something. They were there for like 3 hours. I couldn't believe it, I just couldn't believe it. And he came out and he said, I'm going to teach her.
For me, there is always that wanting to reach something that I know beforehand I never will. And each note is like crying out, searching.